And there was a great meme that said, won't make a purchase because of 7% interest rate, but paying 100% on rent. Right? That's 100% interest rate. In other words, you're building zero equity. Going, okay? Your competitors right now are not sure what to talk about. If I were doing my market to message match, my message to market match right now would be that, look, I'm getting asked all the time, is it a good time to buy? And the answer to that is most realtors will tell you yes. My answer is, it depends. Not for everybody. Not for everybody. Who might it not be a good time to buy for? Someone that's only going to be, somebody who's going to get reassigned at the base, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody who is looking at a potential job transfer. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they shouldn't buy, but you've got to be able to assess their risk tolerance. If you bought, would you be willing to keep that home as an investment property and be an out-of-state owner, right? So you've got to, look guys, that's the skills that this kind of market entails. You've got to be able to have more elegant, more probing, more value conversations, right? So right now, buying right now isn't for everyone. If you've got a job that there's a bit of uncertainty about whether or not you'll maintain that job, right? Fortunately, if you're like a firefighter or a police officer, some pretty good job stability based in there, right? People will say, well, our home price is going to come down. It's likely. It's likely as sellers who need to sell are getting are having to be more competitive, and that will always tend to drive prices down. Will it be that way forever? No, because builders are also pulling back, but there's still strong need for housing. So that home prices coming down will be a very temporary situation, right? We're right at the start of what looks to be a pretty severe recession. Every single recession in the last 6 years has resulted in one thing in common. Can you guys name that? What's the biggest concern for buyers right now? Interest rates. Paying too much interest rates, right? Part of that equation. What's likely to happen with interest rates? It's likely that it's still going to come up because they've not had much of a dampening effect on inflation as a whole, and raising interest rates is the only tool that the Fed has for controlling runaway inflation, right? So it's likely that we're going to have what's called stagflation. In other words, we just stay stagnant. This becomes the new norm. And what happens typically with buyer psychology is once something is the new norm for a while, people start coming back to the market. But it's likely that home prices will come down a bit. It's likely that interest rates will go up a little bit and then start to come down. And every single recession in the last 6 cycles, every single recession, every single one, the Fed ultimately brought interest rates back down. So
doesn't mean they're going to go back to the 2.9% though.
Gone.
And I think that that's a really big thing that we've got to make sure buyers aren't thinking that that's going to go back. Look, if it goes back, then they 100% should refinance. But what they're going to miss out on during the time that they're waiting is crazy, depending on their situation. But I'm just saying that, like, if you just look at the tax advantage, and I would really encourage you guys, I will be trying to bring in our accountant, but I would encourage you guys to talk to tax accountants and say, like, what is the benefit tax-wise of owning a home? Because people are just looking at the interest rate versus looking at what could be potential gains in other ways besides just the market going up, because a lot of people are like, well, the market's going to go down, I'm going to be paying all this in interest, blah, 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 and that's when it gets really scary.
See, there's going to be a segment of the market that continues to move forward of buyers and sellers who are buyers and sellers because they're sophisticated buyers, they've bought multiple homes, right? They're going to be sellers that have job transfers, those kind of things. So there's going to be about 25 to 30% of a normal market, right? We're not in a normal market right now. There's going to be about 25 to 30% of transactions that they're going to transact, doesn't matter what the economy is doing, because of life-changing situations. But our greatest segment of the market is still first-time buyers. those buyers need a little bit of a nudge. They need a little bit of an education. I saw a great meme that said, would-be buyers not making a purchase because of 7% interest rates. By the way, does anybody know what the average interest rate is for the last 40 years? It's right at about 6%. So it's 7% now. It's crazy, but we've gotten so accustomed, so used to rates in the 2s and 3s that it just seems outrageous, right? Is it outrageous in contrast? The immediate contrast, yes. Is it outrageous with the context of our historical market? No, it's not outrageous, right? So our biggest segment of buyers of purchases is that first-time buyer. And there was a great meme that said, won't make a purchase because of 7% interest rate, but paying 100% on rent, right? That's 100% interest rate. In other words, you're building zero equity, right? You're also not able to write off on a $2,000 payment on a home. You're gonna be writing off like $1,800 of that on your federal taxes, right? How much do you get to write off on the rent payment? Zero, right? So you got, guys, you gotta research this, write an article about it, do videos about it, so that someone who's sitting on the fence right now goes, gosh, Adam, that makes sense. That makes sense. I should move forward, right? So that's, in terms of message to market, there's a couple for you guys right there. You know, write it out, get familiar with it, get to the point where you can just say it just like this.